I was raised by a couple of lapsed Baptists, and growing up, the closest thing we had to religion was Dad's love for the Packers. I've never been to church. I've never experienced the Holy Spirit, but that night in the art gallery was the closest I've ever come to a spiritual awakening. A friend of mine was presenting some of her art, and I was being supportive as I waited for her to realize that we could be more than friends. Her art was, well, it was nothing special. She did landscapes, city scenes mostly, and her stuff was okay, but not particularly life-changing. I was an accountant, barely keeping the lights on, and not in any position to be buying art for my little rundown apartment. Not like I would have paid for her art anyway, even if it would have gotten me laid. My friend, let's call her C, had the kind of industrial prints that just made me depressed when I looked at them. I didn't tell her so, of course, but I could tell that she was having trouble selling them. "It's just not a buying crowd tonight," she said, with a little smile, her eyes looking hurt despite it. But I'm hoping that maybe I'll sell a few by the end of the show." I stuck around for a little, chatting and encouraging people to take a look, but after a while I decided to wander off and look around a bit. A lot of C's trade was young women who seemed to be a little put off by me skulking around, so I made myself scarce so she could hopefully sell some paintings. I wandered between stalls with impressionist paintings and corners with handmade pottery, and the show was more of a craft fair than anything, I guess, until I came to a stall that was pressed into the back corner of the little hall. There were 5 paintings in the space, but only one of them really caught my eye. Caught my eye may not be the correct word here. When I saw it, everything slowed down. The noise around me quieted. The painting was the only thing there for a moment. It had glamoured me, ensnared me, and for a moment it was just me and the painting in this space. Nothing else existed, nothing else mattered, and as I got closer, the painting drew me in like a fisherman with a catch. It was like love at first sight. The painting was of a street that could have been anywhere in the city. Snow covered the sidewalks. The gray pavement looked filthy on the swollen canvas. But it didn't detract from its beauty in the least. On the pavement was splayed an angel, a creature of golds and grays and whites that was stretched across the ground like roadkill. To say that it was dead in the street wouldn't have done it justice. The angel seemed to float above the pavement, to be part of it, and its abstractness seemed to enhance its beauty. It had no shape, no real body to speak of, but here was a wing, and there was a slender arm, and behind it sprawled a wave of foamy hair. I touched my eyes and realized I'd been crying, though I wasn't sure why. I came back to myself and realized I was very close to the painting, the noise of the crowd still all around me. I didn't know why, but I knew that I needed to possess this picture. I hadn't needed anything like this in such a long time, and I couldn't stand to be without it. It would hurt me if I had to leave this picture here, and I looked for a price on it, but I didn't expect to find one. How could you put a price on something like this? It would be beyond value. It would be unownable. And when I didn't see a tag, I wasn't too shocked. I didn't see anyone minding the stall either, and as the painting came off the wall with no particular fuss, I put it under my arm and made my way towards the door. No one stopped me. It was just a community art show, and I hadn't really expected to be accosted. To them, I looked like just anyone else who was supporting the arts, and I put the painting in the back seat before returning to the show. Well, I tried to, at least. I had taken a few steps away when I suddenly returned to look at it. It was just sitting there in the back seat. Someone could easily break my window and take it. So easily. I went back in and put a jacket over it before trying to leave again. But no, I thought as I looked back again. There was still a corner peeking out. Someone would see it and want it as much as I had. Finally, I put it in the trunk under the same coat and went back to see. She was ecstatic. She had sold 3 pieces since I left, and she had money to pay her rent and her next month's rent and this month's bills, and she went on and on about it, wanting to go get drinks to celebrate, and any other night I would have gone eagerly. Tonight, however, whatever self-serving plans I had for my friend were lost when I thought about the painting. I told her I had an early day tomorrow, and I'd have to give her a rain check. I said my goodbyes and went to my car, heading for home so I could study my new prize. I hung it in my office, and for a while I just sat and looked at it. It was glorious. The colors, the shapes, it all seemed to swim into different things before my eyes as I looked at it. C never got her rain check. She called. My other friends called, but I just sat at home after work and looked at this picture. After a couple of weeks, that wasn't good enough. A picture like this deserved more than a spot on my bland wall. So I bought an expensive frame. I watched a YouTube tutorial so I could wire up a spotlight for it. I got a marble column for it to sit on and got a stand to set it up. Yeah, I built a shrine to a picture I stole from an art show. So sue me. For the next 9 months, all I did was go to work and come home to be with my angel. You would think it would be a dull experience, but it really wasn't. I was as enthralled by the painting now as I was when I first saw it. Maybe more so. You see, the painting was all I dreamed about, too. The dreams became nothing beyond watching the lines of the painting appear on the blank gray canvas, the colors coming to life as they appeared on the ground. I was standing on the snowy sidewalk, watching them come to life, and the longer it went on, the more I wanted to know about the muse within the painting. Who was the angel? What had led to its creation? As winter once again took the city in a stranglehold, I set out to find my answers. I went to art galleries, to art shows, to museums, but everyone I showed the pictures of the painting to told me that they just really didn't know. It was an impressionistic style. It looked like it had been created through splatters rather than brush. It didn't look like a local artist. It appeared to be set locally, but no one knew where. On and on and on, and always I kept an eye peeled for C. She still tried to contact me, but I didn't have time for friends these days. If she saw me, she never said anything, and as days turned colder and Christmas approached, I finally received a present worthy of my search. I had gone to something called the Holly Fair. It was an art exhibition, among other things, and as I showed the pictures around and asked for information, I was coming up with nothing yet again. I had just about decided to head home, but that was when I saw it. It was set up in the same corner, the same collection of paintings, but this time there was one exception. Whoever ran the stall hadn't bothered to replace the one that I had taken. It stuck out like a missing tooth. The other paintings were similar, but none of them stood out to me like the angel had. They were similar, but none of them held the same substance. See something you like, sir? I jumped, turning to find an older man with an inviting smile and a tweed coat. He looked like a librarian, a small man who lived quietly, but his eyes told me flatly that he knew. He knew what I had done, what I had, and for some reason, it brought him joy. No, I was just thinking it looked a lot like something I'd found the other day, something I had recently added to my collection. I was hoping maybe you could tell me about it, maybe tell me about the artist. I showed him the pictures, and he nodded happily. Oh, I wasn't sure I was going to see this piece again. It disappeared about this time last year, you see, and I wasn't sure it would ever surface. Where did you say you found it? In the private collection I recently picked up. I didn't know it was stolen. He looked at me, and I could tell he knew better. Oh no, not stolen. You see, all the pictures in this artist's collection are free. He gives them away to those who find a kinship with them. If the piece spoke to you, then I hope you enjoy it for many years to come. Thank you, I said, feeling strangely relieved that he wasn't going to call the police and have them take it. Did you paint them, by any chance? Are you the artist? Oh, no, but I knew him. Darren was homeless when I met him, and he had only just began his artistic journey. You see, Darren had been homeless most of his life, and while looking for food one night, he came across a bunch of canvases and paint in a dumpster behind a hobby store. He decided that, given the circumstances, he might try his hand at painting. He had never tried before, never had an interest in art, but as he worked with the canvases, he discovered that he had a knack for it. He painted what he saw, drew what he saw, every day, and you could see much of the city in these paintings. That one there, he said, indicating a rough and rather wet painting of a fountain, is the Central City Fountain. This one, he said, pointing to a rough picture of a brick alleyway that bore some mysterious graffiti, is an alley between Dodson's Drugs and Marley's Antiques. I nodded, seeing the places and realizing that they were locations I had passed before as well. The paintings were rough, no master's course, but they were very impressive from someone who reported to have no formal training. They were almost more charming for their skillless perfection, and the more I discovered about the artist, the more I longed to know. Would it be possible to meet him? I had questions about the angel. The man smiled sadly. Ah, yes, the angel was one of my favorites, too. The angel is so real, so expressive, but I'm afraid it would be quite impossible for you to speak with the artist. He died about 4 years ago. He told me on his deathbed that the pieces were to be shown to everyone, to be given to those who showed a special interest in them, who were spoken to by them. He was pretty clear about that, and I think he would be glad to hear that the painting had spoken to you. Did he say where he had seen the angel? The man laughed. Young man, do you think that Darren saw a real angel, and that was what he painted? I told him no, but I think I had already decided that I did. The angel was so real, so enticing, that I believed it must be a real angel. The artist must have met them while he was wandering the streets, somewhere in the cold and unforgiving city, and I needed to look at them now, too. I needed to meet them, to see them, to tell them what they had done for me, and I needed it more than anything else. Well, I hate to tell you, but he never told me if or when he saw a real angel. I met him while he was painting at the dock, a dock that always made me remember my dad and the times that we had fished there when I was young. That was the picture that spoke to me, and I've got the original hanging in my home, when it isn't here. He pointed to one of the pictures, and I realized that I also knew the dock in the picture. All the pictures in the collection were from the Central Street area. It was a part of town frequented by the homeless, and not a place I'd want to be at night. Regardless, I knew I would go there. If I was going to find the angel, then I was going to have to pound the pavement, just as Darren had done. I thanked the man for his helpfulness and left him smiling happily at his little booth. That was the first night that I took to the streets. The picture made me believe that he had seen the angel at night, so I started walking from sundown to just before midnight. I still needed to sleep. I had bills to pay, and I couldn't afford to miss work, but I didn't think I would see anyone of note after midnight. Given the snow on the ground in the painting, it would be damn cold for foot traffic, even of the heavenly sort. I bundled up and walked for hours through the cold. I know how that sounds, but by this point, I really was quite mad. The snow was thick on the sidewalks, salt or no salt, and I started by visiting the sites of the other paintings. The dock, the fountain, the alley by the drugstore, a sewer grate near 11th Street, a park near the edge of Central, a bodega by the water. I visited them all, but none of them were what I was looking for. I walked the streets for hours, eyes down, looking for the exact spot, but to no avail. I couldn't go out every night, but when I did, I was studying the picture for clues. I was fully invested in this now. I had to know who or what this angel was, but I was no closer than I had been at the start. I just kept walking, kept pounding the pavement, hoping for a miracle, and to my surprise and bemusement, I got it. The miracle came in the form of a patch of black ice one evening, a few minutes after midnight. I had just heard the big clock by the water chime the hour, and when I checked my watch, I realized it was Christmas Day. I'd been walking the streets for 3 weeks and found nothing, and I was just about ready to give up. I turned, heading for my car, where it sat in a parking lot by the bodega, when my foot suddenly slipped out from under me. There was no chance to catch myself, and I fell ass over tea kettle in the road. I lay there, head throbbing and the world spinning, and as I lay there, something curious happened. I had been wrong, it seemed. The angel appeared after midnight, but not much passed. As I lay in the street, the snow soaking into my socks, a golden light fell across me. It cut a jag over the right side of my face, and I turned my head slowly, hoping to see a golden figure standing over me. It wasn't, though. It was the gold thrown from a neon sign for a tattoo parlor on my left. It was joined by the light from an old bulb to my right, then the silver of something creeping through someone's window blinds, a harsh light of an emergency light from the roof, the chase of Christmas lights across a doorway, and as I got to my feet, I could see it there as it lay in the street. It was my angel, Darren's angel, as it lay across the pavement for less than a minute before someone twitched their blinds and the light from the roof went out, and it was just shades across the pavement yet again. Darren, whoever he had been, must have had a wonderful memory. He had captured all of this in a matter of seconds, and remembered it vividly enough to recreate it in his painting. It was fleeting, ephemeral, and gone much too fast. Just seeing it there in the street, before I turned and headed home again. I still have that picture, but it doesn't hold me quite like it used to. It still fills me with wonder, but I've returned to something a little more normal. I tried to bring the painting back to the guy, but he told me I should keep it, telling me it had called to me and thus it should belong to me. Who knows? It might have more to say to you in time. I suppose until then, I'll be waiting for another call from the angel.
You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.